saying that little phrase to Jesus, increase our faith, seem to believe that what they have at the present moment in regards to faith is not enough. That somehow maybe things of growth in faith are not moving as quickly as they wanted. There was a priest, one of the senior priests of our diocese, who told me this little story from his boyhood. When in his family they used to milk cows. And so each evening after the milking, the pail of milk was placed on the porch overnight so that it could cool. One night, his mom said to him, he was a young boy, "Go out to the barn and get the pail of milk." And he said, "I'm afraid to go out in the night." His mom said, "Well, it's okay because God is out there even in the darkness." So he said, "I went to the door of the porch, I poked my head outside, and I whispered, 'God, if you're out there, hand me the pail.'" Doesn't it seem sometimes like we are just kind of sticking our heads out into the dark and asking God to show us some way, some help, some direction? Habakkuk said, "How long, O Lord? I cry for help, but you do not listen. Why do you let me see ruin? Why do I look at misery?" We all look at images of misery at times: death, war, terrorism. When do we ever see the light in the midst of the darkness? Today is Respect Life Sunday. Sometimes even in that world, we know that abortion has been legalized for a long time in our country, and we have worked to keep the value of human life before us. But seemingly, it almost looks like there's little change, and the respect of human life in all its forms is still in great danger. We look even at our own weaknesses, and we wonder, when will I change? How can I ever grow to be in a better place? How can my faith increase? Humanly, this process really that we're about is frustrating. We are asked rather to see, in a sense, to look into the darkness and to enter God's mysterious ways. It is about recognizing God's wisdom and God's help and strength. It is a vision that's really sustained by our faith, and it holds us to a higher level of teaching, even to bear witness to the presence of Christ as we stand sometimes seemingly in the darkness. It causes us sometimes rather to share in the suffering that will come to us because of that place we stand. And oftentimes, the vision that we carry does not match our expectations and our desires. God's grace insight will transform our world and make it something about life and about faith. One of the areas the bishops have been concerned about is the way that our understanding of marriage has also been attacked. There were 5 bills presented to the Minnesota legislature this year that were introduced to change the legal definition of marriage, to make it a union of consenting adults, any number and any sex. It seemed to be really quite a drastic step to take that would lead to many other problems in regards to the raising of children and even the definition of what a family is. An anonymous donor came and paid completely for a project to allow the presentation of the teaching of the church to enter each Catholic home in the state of Minnesota. Hopefully you received the DVD this week. It is an attempt to allow people to understand the church teaching. And I would encourage you really to listen to the DVD. I believe it's about 18 minutes, because it really allows us to understand where the church's teaching comes from, that marriage should be about the union of one man and one woman. We cannot allow marriage, the definition of marriage, to be changed into something that really we know is against God's law. And it is simply about that. I have noticed the reactions that have been coming in, bringing in other issues, but it is really strictly, if you listen to the tape, it is strictly about how we define marriage in today's world. The bishops are recognizing that most people see and know the importance of marriage as between one man and one woman. On this pro-life Sunday, it fits into our sense of valuing human life from conception to natural death. There are seemingly so many attacks these days on human life, not only abortion, but also capital punishment, euthanasia, and other ways in which we tend or do not tend to one another. As we stand together, sometimes, as I said, feeling as if we are in the darkness, we patiently await and trust that God is present, and somehow He will help us. And it means accepting a stance of faith in today's world, which sometimes seems like it's shrouded in mist. And yet, as we stay connected to God, it becomes clear. So the challenge is that we continue to grow in our faith, knowing that God is faithful and will not abandon us. We pray for faith today that is felt in the sense of trust present in our lives, especially in the mysterious ways that God moves among us, even in the midst of the darkness. No matter how dark the day is or winding the path might seem, we know our God walks with us. And so we continue to pray as the disciples did, Lord, increase our faith.